Well, before I start, I want to say, um, after taking those big losses last week and the week prior, so many like multiple big losses because of my stubbornness and my failure to cut losses. I told myself I wasn't gonna trade no more, but I thought I would give it another try. Um, I had to really get a better understanding of my mistakes, and it's really just cutting losses and sizing in too big. Those are my two big issues. So um, yesterday, when I got back into trading for the first time since my loss, I made the same mistake again, but and I was like down a large amount, but then when I realized like I'm repeating the same thing again, I had to just stop. Um, Going all in is not working out for me, nor does it is it a good idea. So um, I gotta have a better mindset when it comes to that. Um, but today, well, yesterday I traded EH. Um, I lost what 70 something bucks. It was a bad trade. I was down 400 at one point because I traded it twice. The first time I was down 400 at one point. Then it bounced. I got out as soon as I was over green. Took a profit of 48 bucks. Then then I tried again. I don't know if I think I shorted it at that point. It wasn't going my way, and I was in I think only 100 shares. Got out. So today, after watching it yesterday go up, and I'll show you here too. But um, after watching it yesterday go up so much, um, why am I not able to? Why am I not able to? I'll just do it this way. Yesterday, um, it pulled back. Well, before I even show you this, I have to show you the whole thing. The yearly chart, um, it was at one point it was at $7, and now it's up. It went up to 134. Then in the 3 month chart, it had this big dump, and now it's bouncing. So in a 2 minute chart, yesterday I traded it somewhere around here. I longed it, and then it kind of like pulled back on me. I think it was right here. I longed it, pulled back on me. Then the moment it started bouncing up, I took the quickest gain I could make, 48 bucks. Then I tried shorting it. It wasn't going down. Quickly got out for a 70 something dollar loss. I was cool with that compared to the thousands of dollars that I've been losing, that I should have been losing. But today, so today, um, I'm watching it. Uh, Woke up around 7 in the morning. I'm watching it. It's down, I think, 15%, or I just know it was down like 10 to 15%, a large percent within a day. From my experience with shorting first, red days, um, they're different from those first green days that go up a lot pre-market. You know, there's some stocks first green day um, that go parabolic and solely in the pre-market. It'll be up by a lot pre-market and just fade the rest of the fade all pre-market the rest of the day. Sometimes those faders they fade. The market open they have a big spike and then fade the rest of the day as well. But for shorting first red days, that's it's not like that. So right here, I think it was down about 10%. Um, um, and and I'm like, you know what, the smart thing to do, and from what my mentor, mentors taught me, one of them, Tim Grattani, and his video Trading Tickers 2 is coming out soon, or it's out, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna wait till like if officially comes out to buy the whole thing instead of half of it. But I remember first red days it was saying that you know you want to short near red to green. So that's what I waited for. It started uptrending, and I'm like, yeah, I knew I was right because it started uptrending, and I'm like, that was a smart move. Just not make any stupid mistakes, unnecessary mistakes. So it started squeezing up. Red to green was like it was like I think it was like 30 cents at this point away from red to green. Then you know I'm looking at the time, a few minutes, like literally a minute or two away from the market open. And then you know I'm waiting. Market open. It doesn't look like it wasn't showing me that it was gonna bounce, so I shorted right here, and I did like 100 shares. Um, yeah, so 100 shares at 76.89. Um, that was like about almost a whole dollar away from the high day, or red to green. But um, I went in with a small amount of shares. I was willing to cover ASAP, and I just could see that it was gonna fall. So it started falling, and let me zoom in here into the 1 minute chart. Um, so it started falling here, and then as soon as I was up a large amount, I didn't even calculate the dollar amount. I knew I was up a lot because it did this big panic. But that's a um, I covered at what 74.35, so that's a $2 difference. So you know, from what I've been learning, cover these higher price stocks. You want to cover 50 cents to a dollar. Lower price 20 cents, 10, 20 cents, 30 cents, 50 cents. You want to cover out or take gains at those points. So I've been losing so much, and I haven't been disciplined on taking gains. So I just as soon as it fell, I just took my gains, man. I was just like, fuck it, I'm out taking my gains. And at this point, I was up $250. Um, and then I saw that it was falling more, and I'm like, okay, it's gonna bounce, but it looks like it's still gonna fall more. So I shorted here, and I chased it. I ain't gonna lie, and I shorted way too close to the bottom. I'm sorry, the I hate when I stutter. The triangles are in my way, so I have to get closer. But so I shorted near bottom, and I didn't mean to, but I'm glad I went in with 100 shares because I was cool with adding, and I added here when I saw that it wasn't gonna come bounce anymore, or it didn't look like it was gonna bounce anymore. When I shorted here, I ended up losing my whole 250 that I made here, and I was down another $100 to $200, and I just pretty much lost everything I made, and I was pretty disappointed in myself. Um, you know, I was kind of beating myself inside, and I was like, you know what? If it pushes up even higher, I just got to cover and take this loss of $100 to $200 loss. Um, and you know, um, and it was like now you got to start back from the beginning again. But luckily, and I'm gonna say luckily because I chased this stock. Luckily, it fell and it came down, and and then it bounced again, and then it came down some more. Because I was expecting it to break past these low points from the price action that it was giving me, and I covered right here for a $701 gain in total. So from all right here, I made $701. So at this point, I do little side stuff to get money. I don't just trade and work. So at this point, I um, I knew it was gonna bounce, and I'm happy with the $700 gain. Excuse me. I'm happy with the $700 gain. Um, I don't want to trade anymore. I want to just take this gain and sit back and relax. Um, and um, I was glad with the gain. I don't know who keeps calling me, but I was glad with the gain. And I honestly got tempted to short here again, thinking it was gonna fall some more. But I'm like, no, I've been through this before. I'm not gonna short here. I'm just gonna let it go. And I needed something to distract me, so I took on these orders so I can get out of the house and get away from the computer. Because I knew this was gonna bounce, but my stubborn ass was just gonna hit it right here and think it was gonna fall some more. So I left the house. I'm watching the stock from my phone. I'm like, I don't care if I missed the game, missed the opportunity or not. I'm out. So as soon as soon as I'm leaving, it starts bouncing. And around like 71, 72 or 73, I was trying to short again, and I'm looking. I'm like, nah, man. And I still left. And when I got to my destination, I'm looking at it and I'm watching it, and it bounced up all the way to here, which was like the highest point was 76.90. And if I had shorted at 72, 73, that would have been a $2, $3 really, $3 fucking loss. That would have been a few thousand dollars loss. The smarter thing was to short this bounce from red to green. So while I was at my destination, I'm thinking to myself of reviewing how I traded it, and I'm like, okay, I did well here when I quickly took my gains. I messed up here by shorting at the very bottom, and then you know, shorted. Well, I added shares and shorted here, which was good too. Um, but I messed up by this trade right here, getting at the very bottom, and just chasing in general. I wouldn't even have done this trade right here, um, because who knows? It barely went lower than that lowest previous point. It only went down by $1. So that shows me that you shouldn't chase because you're risking this bounce. And even if you chase it, um, you know, it barely went lower than from the lowest point. It only went down another dollar. So you're risking so much and gaining so little. And I was just reviewing this trade in my head, and I'm like, I knew it was gonna bounce, but my stubbornness was still trying to short anyway. But um, it bounced near to red to green. The high day was when it opened. Uh, the high day was 76.89. I guess it perked up a little bit past the high day, but it never went past red to green. So you can use the open high day or red to green as risk, depending on how close they are to each other. Um, or it's better if they're close to each other. But if they're far away, you can use different risk levels and risk off of that, based off of what you're seeing. So this short would have been better, but I could have done it, but I wasn't in the proper mindset to short it from here, which would have been a better gain than this, because I would have went with the original, my full size, which is 200 shares, not all in, but 200 shares, and ride the wave. But I'm glad that I missed it, because I was in the right mindset. I probably would have fucked it up. So by the time I got back to my computer, um, by the time I got back to my computer, I was seeing this right here, where it was 12 o'clock exactly, or um, reaching 12 o'clock. This already had happened. I was like somewhere around here, and I wanted to short it right here, risking this high point and this high point, these two high points. But I just couldn't pull the trigger. I wasn't comfortable. I wasn't sure, and um, then it didn't give me that. I'm trying to see a better chart. It didn't give me that. So I mean, I didn't pull the trigger, and then it started going, sideways in the range started tightening up. You see that it bounces up to here, comes down here. The range tightened up from here to here, you know, and it was just the range was just getting smaller and smaller. And I really wanted to get in at this point right here, but I was just too afraid to pull the trigger. Then I was too afraid to pull the trigger here. Then I pulled the trigger here and here. I shorted here, I added here, and I couldn't. It kept going sideways. And I couldn't really. I knew which way it was gonna go, but I couldn't determine all the way because it kept going sideways price action. So it's like I was like, man, I'm looking at this price action right here, and I'm like, okay, recently this is the highest point. If it breaks past this highest point from this range, then it might just be squeezing. So I said, okay, my risk is 65.74, and I knew like I wasn't gonna be comfortable or disciplined enough to cover if it hits my risk. So I hit a stop limit. I put in a stop limit order, and um, um, it didn't execute. So it pushed up, and I was down more than what I wanted to be, about $200-300, and then it pulled back, and I covered where I was trying to risk. And I made a mistake here because um, I picked a near to arbitrary. It wasn't arbitrary, but it was near to it. Risk right here, but because I chased it so much, I had to lower my risk. But the real risk was here at 67.45, because this is where it started going sideways. That's the highest point in the sideways price action. So I was right for shorting, but because I chased it, it made it harder for me to trade it. So now, even if it did this perk up right here, it still never hit my risk of 74. Like the highest point right here was um 66.40, but the real risk was 67.45, because the sideways price action, the resistance was at 64.75, and the lowest point was the lowest point, which was not too important, but important. Um, and I'll look to cover near the lowest point, because that's where you should be covering. That's why it's important. But I allowed this little perk up right here to scare me out, and I ended up losing. I was at $701, so I ended up losing 55 dollars for the from this right here, which is cool. It's not a big loss. My risk is $30 per share. I mean, $30 per trade, but You know, the upside here was so big, I was cool with that kind of loss. So if I never got scared out and I stayed in, I was right for shorting because it came down. Now the lowest point here was $63. I was in at 65.36 when I added my shares. So let's do the math here. So um, 65.36, and the lowest point was 63. So minus 63. That's a sorry, I did the math wrong. 65.36 minus $63. That's $2.36 difference. So I could have made $2.36, potentially $2.36 cent per share times 200 shares that I had. So that was a total of $472 that I could have made extra if I were to have traded accordingly. Um, I didn't get faked out on this perk, but the better trade, um, of course, was shorting here with proper size and not chasing and covering near the bottom, or even right here, I would have took it. Um, and then shorting again here, this was the even more better trade, the shorting the bounce because it had a much more upside, much more gains because it came down so much. But in this recent trade that I had with my third trade on it, the better trade was to pull the trigger when I saw it bounce up to here. That's when I got back to my computer, saw that it was around here. Um, I would have taken my short around 66.50, lowest 66, and I would have been over $3 per share. But I failed to pull the trigger. I'm glad that I was able to cut losses. Um, I was glad I had the discipline to cut the loss, even though it went my way. And I was glad I was able to cut with a small loss. At this point right now, I don't care where it goes. It might break this lowest point of the day. 2 o'clock is approaching, and it really might break this for real. But at this point, because I covered here, and now I feel like I'll be chasing, and I'm near lower day. I don't want to short again, and I don't want to short near lower day. And believe it or not, there might be a really high chance it's gonna go under. There might be a really high chance that it's gonna go under the lower day. I've been seeing this all last week, this week, all month, all year. Stocks have just been going up so much and going down so much. They're like it's like these companies are just dumping their shares and squeezing it. So I honestly think um, it will break this lower day. I honestly think because it's less than $1 away. So who knows? But I mean, of course, I'm gonna stick around and watch it from my phone, but I'm not gonna stick around and keep trading. And here, look, it's even going even lower. I can sit here and wait if need be, and it really just might break this lowest point. But I'm not gonna get in. I'm not because um, it's not the strategy that I've been taught. And when I was at my destination and I was thinking, reviewing my trade in my head, the words of Tim Grittani came in my head, and he was like, "Yo, you have to follow the criteria. You gotta stick to shorting near red to green." I was trying to short around 72, $73 here, and that wasn't my risk. Was the real risk was high day or red to green. Why am I shorting? Why am I trying to short right here? I'm risking so much, but because I thought it was going to fall some more, I tried to do that, and not only was that the wrong mindset, but that's not what I've been taught, and I can't use my imagination. So that would have caused me to risk so much. So the words of Tim Grittani, the words of Tim Sykes, it's like I could hear them speaking in my head, telling me what I should do. But um, today was just a really big lesson. I don't care that I lost $55. I don't care that it could have been 700 instead of 55. Like that's that's those thoughts are in my head right now, but I'm learning to push them aside because I know that's the wrong way of thinking. So I still have the wrong mindset. It's still hovering around, but I'm learning. Okay, I can push that away. Um, but I'm trying to talk to see to give myself more time for this thing to drop. But more importantly, man, today was a great learning day. Fuck the games. Yes, I'm over the PDT rule by that took a major $300 loss. But yes, I'm over the PDT rule by almost $800. It could have been if I didn't take those big losses last week. It could have been I could have been in over $30,000. But instead, I'm back under the PDT rule or just above it. Um, but um, I just need better discipline, and I need to keep practicing discipline. So my goals for today is to study Tim Grittani's first red days and shorting the bounces to just uh, add on to the lessons that I've learned and refresh my mind on them. Um, but other than that, that's it for the day. And I still don't want to trade. I still don't.